Hi, welcome everyone to our webinar today on behalf of Bolides Technology Group. Today we'll be talking about how to optimize your storage devices. So just to let you know, this webinar will be posted on YouTube, and if you need a copy of this presentation, just let us know. But with me, I have Ken Miguel, our sales manager. Hey Ken, how are you?
I'm doing good, Nancy. How are you?
I'm doing well. And also we have our technical support engineer, Mike Lugo. Hi Mike.
Hey Nancy, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'll be your moderator today. So thank you for joining us. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, we will be stopping after each category. So go ahead and save your questions for the end of the category, and we'll get them answered, and we'll hope you enjoy this webinar. So we're going to be talking about one of the most important aspects of video security that doesn't get much attention. Most current CCTV systems record in high definition, and it is important to know how to optimize and manipulate your hard drive and other storage devices to maximize your capacity to record more video. So I'm going to hand it over to Ken.
Thank you, Nancy, and good morning, everybody. Again, we appreciate your time joining us on today's webinar. Very, very interesting topic, storage devices. So in this webinar, we're going to go over a few topics regarding storage. First, we're going to look at computer hard drive versus surveillance hard drives. Is there really a difference? Is there really such a thing? And what are the differences mechanically as well as how they store video? We're also going to go over how to optimize storage on IP cameras, specifically the IP cameras here at Bolides. Under that is going to be how to manipulate stream configurations, how to utilize onboard SD card storage. Also, we're going to do optimizing hard drives on NVRs. So we're going to go over alternative storage, how to optimize your hard drives via the CMS configurations, CMS record, and the stream settings. Also, we're going to talk about how to record into mobile devices. Next up is optimizing storage on HD over Coax systems. So we're going to talk about the DVR record settings, how to back up videos, also how to optimize your recordings via the CMS storage configurations. Last but not the least will be mobile DVRs. We're going to go over solid state drives versus regular PC hard drives. We're going to talk about storage options for mobile DVRs and how to optimize storage via the software configuration. Okay, so Mike, let's start. So is there really such a thing as a surveillance hard drive?
That's a good question, Ken. I actually did not believe that there was before I got into the CCTV industry, and believe it or not, there is. It's a major difference.
Okay, so here at Bolides, we use a specific hard drive for all of our storage devices. We use a Western Digital Purple Series hard drive. Okay, so we're going to go over the difference between these purple drives in comparison to standard PC hard drives.
As you can see, I have a little chart here that explains the application of a regular hard drive and a Western Digital Purple. And I highlighted a couple areas. One being the number of hours per day an average hard drive would work. Hours times days of the week. So 8 hours a day times 5 days a week is what a normal hard drive should go. As you can see to the right of that, a surveillance hard drive is rated for 24/7 on all the time. Another one is the main application is a regular standard hard drive made for mainstream surveillance. No, it's not. Reason being, how many cameras can you have on a regular hard drive? One, maybe two. And the purple is rated for up to 32 cameras. So you can see off the bat the difference in manufacturing the hard drive. A normal hard drive has an 80-20, meaning 80 read, 20 write, and a surveillance purple hard drive has the opposite, which is 80 write, 20 read.
So the thing here is durability, right, Mike?
Correct.
Western Digital Purple is designed to write and overwrite multiple times in comparison to a standard PC hard drive.
Yes.
Okay, so hard drives work much like a record player. Is that right?
Correct.
So there's a disk and there's a pin and it spins. And how many, what's the standard lifespan of a hard drive?
So the standard lifespan of a hard drive is roughly 3 years or 50,000 clicks. And when I say clicks, I mean every time your hard drive is either turned on or turned off. So you turn on your PC or turn off your PC, you do that about 50,000 times. Average. I mean, that's not saying it might last longer than that, it might last longer than 3 years, but that's a normal lifespan. Obviously, a CCTV surveillance hard drive, you're not turning your DVR on and off constantly. It's on all the time. As you can see on the chart, it's made for 24/7 recording. So it's a major difference.
So in using a hard drive for surveillance, you got to go with a Western Digital Purple. If you're using a Seagate, there's an equal series that's also a surveillance grade hard drive. But if you guys use a DVR that we service, we only use this particular drive. If you have to buy your own, make sure you're buying the correct ones.
Correct.
And Western Digital Purple hard drives are available in up to what type of capacity?
So Western Digital, you can have up to 32 terabytes on 16 cameras. That'll give you 14 days on a standard 2 megapixel 1080p 30 frames per second recording. And this chart basically explains there's not only purple, there's a teal and a yellow Western Digital, which we don't use too much, but doesn't mean that it can't be ordered if you guys have bigger scale projects. But they are surveillance rated hard drives. And this chart just explains really quick on how many days you can get out of how many cameras and how many terabytes you'll need.
So you got to keep in mind what technology you're using. In the past, most DVRs were 960H resolution. And then as the years went along, technology got better. It became 720p. And now the latest HD over Coax cameras out there and most commonly used IP cameras are all 1080p full HD. Being full HD means they take up more storage in a hard drive. So keep that in mind. Looking at this chart, if you have 16 cameras recording all in 1080p at maximum of 30 frames per second, a 4 terabyte hard drive only lasts 2 days. Okay, so there's a few ways to extend this. One would be to put your cameras on motion detection. Another way is to lower your frames per second. So if you lower it from 30 to 15, then that doubles your storage. You'll lower it down to 7, which is still acceptable when it comes to providing evidence. It's still a good frame rate, but that will extend your video capacity. Our 16-channel DVR, for example, maxes out at 8 terabytes per bay. So it's got 2 bays. So do the math, and that will you'll ensure that you have enough storage to last however many days you want the DVR to record before they overwrite.
Right. Okay. And I just want to point out that this is for 24/7 recording, so you can get more out of course, changing the frame rate, changing the bit rate, recording on motion. So it's not set in stone that you're going to get, 4 terabytes, 2 days, 16 cameras. I mean, as you change your settings, you can get more recording time out of it. This is just the rule of thumb for 24/7 recording.
Later on this webinar, we're going to go over the NVR and DVR interface and how to adjust your bit rate, your frames per second, your resolution. You don't really want to mess with. You want as best resolution as you can. And that's what you're paying for buying these higher res cameras.
So any questions regarding, the difference between hard drives and any of that sort? And like Ken did say, Bolides uses these Western Digital Purple hard drives. as well as we saw the teal and the yellow hard drives. They're also available. That any questions at this point?
Yeah, guys, feel free to leave a question in the chat box, and we'll answer them as we go on the webinar. If there's no questions, we'll move on to the next section. So now let's talk about IP cameras. IP cameras are essentially, little CCTV systems on their own. They have their own, little mind, and you can actually record or manipulate, change settings for every camera in a network. Okay, and they can be set differently from one another. You just have a more capacity for customization. Okay. One feature that our IPAC megapixel cameras have is multi-stream. Okay, this multi-stream feature is very important in terms of being able to stream videos smoothly, through multiple outputs. And Mike, let's go over this stream configuration.
Sure. So this is your web GUI logging into the camera itself. And we're going to go over the stream configuration on how to change and adapt that stream to what you need for recording.
So what we're looking at here is the interface for the IP camera. So you can log on to your IP camera through its own IP address, and it takes you to a login screen, and it takes you to this menu right here.
So let's take a look at some of these stream configurations. As you can see here in the picture, Stream 1, Stream 2, and Stream 3. I'm going to note that our cameras, there aren't too many cameras on the market that actually have 3 streams. The majority of them only have 2. The reason being, we have our 3rd stream is it's an MPEG stream. A lot of today's home automations run off that MPEG stream. So that's a good sales point for your customers to let them know that we do have that stream for home automation. That's usually just a viewing, not for recording, but I just wanted to point that out. So getting back to the stream, you can see the 2 major parts of the stream are, of course, the stream itself and the resolution frame rate. Adjusting the frame rate and the resolution will give you more time in recording. By default, you always want to have Stream 1 as your top recording, top viewing setting. Stream 2 is usually for mobile application. Doesn't mean that you can't view Stream 1 on your mobile, but it's a little easier on the bandwidth going with Stream 2. Adjusting the frame rate. Now, when it comes to frame rate, it could be tricky. Real time, anywhere from 25 to 30 frames per second. But lowering it down to 15, the end user would never see the difference. You're going to save double the hard drive space by doing that, and you're not really going to see a difference in the frame rate being lost. And you can keep your stream still at the top megapixels and not have to worry about taking too much bandwidth.
So here's an image of the multi-stream functionality. Like Mike said, you have 3 streams.
Yeah, so 3 streams, and this is just a quick picture showing Stream 1, 1080p, 30 frames per second. Stream 2, you can see the picture's not much different from the first one. It's still at 30 frames per second, but it's 640 by 360.
One scenario that this could apply is you can actually have Stream 1 recording into a local storage, let's say in an NVR. Then you can have Stream 2 transmitting at a lower bandwidth and having it also recording at another site. Or you can actually have it just remote save at a hard drive in a remote location. So it does not have to be in the same site where the camera is installed at. So that's multi-stream. Next up is onboard SD card. So every iPad camera has a built-in SD card slot. Okay. Now this slot can be utilized as a way to back up video in case, let's say your network goes down, you never lose video. At the same time, the same SD card slot can also be used as a main device to store video. It just won't last long as a huge, few terabyte hard drive, but it can be done. We get asked sometimes, what if I do not want to put in an NVR? I just want videos to store in the camera. Yes, you can do that, and we'll go over this particular function. So The SD card slot and these IP cameras maxes out at 64 gigabyte.
64 gig.
Okay. Like I said, it can be used as a backup storage or it can be used as main storage. Okay, so the SD card slot can be found in different parts of the cameras. In this particular model, our BN6035M2 bullet camera. It's underneath the camera. As far as capacity, Mike?
Yeah, so at a 2 megapixel camera, out of 64 gigs, you're going to get about a day and a half recording. And that's going to go back to the stream. So you can lower that stream to D1 and be able to get 6 days of recording out of that 64 gigs. So it's real important to know about your stream configuration, as well as knowing that the camera has an onboard SD slot, because like I said, our cameras have the Stream 3. For home automation, that's not really a recording application. The home automation devices or applications don't really use a recording device. So it's perfect that the camera has its own recording capability, because now you can record with your home automation application if that's what you want to do.
So how to access the video from your SD card. So you can log on to your camera IP address and pull the video through your browser. You can also use the Cms software, iPad 2.5 that we provide with our servers. If you're using an NVR, you can actually access it through the NVR menus, as well as the VMS software that comes with the NVR.
As well as NVMS that actually comes with the cameras themselves. There's a little CD in there. The NVMS is not recording software, but it is to view, and you can access the video recorded on the camera through there.
You can actually physically take out this SD card
as well, yes,
and insert it into a reader.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so SD card slots, more than just for backup. You can be used for your main storage. There's ways to extend your capacity by setting it on motion, lowering your transmission rate, and you can see here you can get a few days out of your SD card.
Any questions at this point? I know we went over the Steam configuration, multi-stream, and a few topics about the 64 gig memory card, and how you can go from using it to record for a day and a half to 6 days. That's a big difference. So do you guys have any questions about that? Feel free, type in your question anytime. We'll answer them.
We have a question here. Is there an SD card built in to every iPad camera? Yes. So the iPad 2 megapixel, 4 megapixel, 5 megapixel, and even our fish eye 6 megapixel cameras, even our full-size PTZs all have SD card built in, and every one of them have the same maximum capacity, 64 gigabyte.
And it's important just as a sales point that every camera is in essence, or can be, a standalone server on its own, the camera itself. You don't need the actual server, since it records and has all the functions of a server or an NVR. The camera in itself can be sold as a standalone server.
And there's no particular brand or grade that you have to buy as far as the SD card, right?
Correct.
So any micro SD card will work.
Yeah.
Okay, good question.
All right, moving on.
Okay, so next up is NVRs. So there's many ways to extend and optimize your hard drive within the NVR settings or its software. So let's go over each one. Mike?
Yeah, so this will now be available to all of our customers, your customers. You'll be able to go online, and we'll have a storage calculator that you guys can input the information that the customer needs, or whatever the situation may be, and calculate how much storage they're going to need to purchase, whether through you, from us, or on their own. And it'll give you all the specs of that information.
This calculator is available on the website?
It will be probably by the end of the day.
Okay, very, very helpful tool. You guys need to quote a system. You want to know how long it will last, how long your drive will last, etc. Okay, so CMS alternative storage.
Yeah, so this is the CMS software that comes with the NVR, and pretty much across the board you see the GUI for the NVR itself, logging into the web or using CMS is pretty much standard across the board. It looks the same, it reacts the same, so it's the same GUI across the board. So we can go over one and cover all three applications. But in particular here, we're talking about alternative storage on the NVR. And you can see you have the SD card, FTP, which is file transfer protocol. So you can have off-site page where you can send video to. You set that up, username, password, has all those areas you need to fill out, and then a NAS. So a NAS is a hard drive on the network, and it's being transferred through the network at the location, not remote. So those are the three separate alternative storage options you have aside from the actual hard drive on the NVR.
And you can set your multi-stream to transmit at different data rates and resolution for each
Correct.
Storage site, right?
Correct. Correct. And I'll show you guys how to do that.
Very cool.
So next is storage configuration. Aside from alternative storage, this is the actual storage on your network. As you can see here, we have 3 drives. 3 of those drives being local to the computer with the CMS, and the last drive being a network drive. So you're able to record to virtually any drive that you have connected to your computer. Network, I think the E drive there is a USB drive that I had formatted, and C and D are also local drives to my computer. So there's 4 alternate recording places on top of the hard drive on the NVR. So many different options to record and save storage.
So through multi-stream, you can actually do a mirror recording.
Correct.
Into 2 different drives, right?
Correct. It's almost like a RAID system, which we can also do through the NVR and set up for you guys if you need it. So this is very important. This is the CMS record settings, and this goes back to stream configuration and motion and stuff like that. The more button will actually give you the motion options, but like we talked about earlier, stream, as you can see there, it's 1080p, and this is actually 15 frames per second. So we lowered the frames to get more out of our recording. And like I said earlier, 15 frames, the end user is not really going to know the difference too much because it just flows. And it's nice, smooth recording. You won't see that 15 frame per second loss, and you're going to get double the space out of that.
And here, check is your scheduled record. Again, you can set any channel you want on motion detection, as far as as well as alarm triggering.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question here. Can the standalone IP camera be set up with Wi-Fi, or is it hardwired to the router only?
So that's a good question. Well, obviously our cameras aren't Wi-Fi, so in that, no, they can't, but they can be connected to a access point, which is Wi-Fi. As long as it has an Ethernet cable on it, you'd be able to connect it that way. And if that access point has access to the main router, in essence, yeah, you can have it Wi-Fi as long as you set up your access point correctly. There's no problem in doing that.
All right, good question. Okay, moving on. So CMS Stream Settings.
Yeah, so as the last slide, we talked about IP camera settings on the camera itself. This is the NVR now. So this is accessing the camera through the NVR, not just the camera by itself. So there's 2 different options. In here, the settings are the same, the options are different. You go a little more in depth into what you want to change, not just the stream. You can change the bit rate. You can make that bit rate a variable or constant. You can change the interval rate. You can change the resolution. You can change the H.264 profile, as well as the stream and the quality of the picture. So you have a lot more options in the stream settings inside the CMS for the NVR. That might sound a little confusing, but so there's 2 ways you could go through the camera or the NVR and the CMS settings. So If you guys have any questions about that, or you want to understand that a little more in depth, you can always call us, and we'll be happy to help you guys out with that.
One question we get asked, Mike, is variable bit rate and constant.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the variable bit rate, the bit rate is going to adjust to movement within the camera. So it's going to change your bit rate. As you can see there, it's set to 6,000. Now, the camera's capability is 500 to 12,000. So the bit rate will adjust to that. If you have an area that doesn't have any movement, well, using the variable bit rate, you can have that camera not record so much, take so much bits as to a camera that does have a lot of bandwidth. When you set that to a constant, it's always going to record at 1 bit rate. So the variable might go from 2,000 to 6,000 with movement, and you're going to save yourself 4,000 kilobytes of bit rate by making it variable.
Okay, so it does help you save.
Yes, it does a lot.
Storage. So IP camera settings.
Okay, so IP camera settings again. It might get a little confusing. Like I said, if you guys get a little, might be a little too much for you, feel free to either ask any questions or give us a call and we'll help you out with it. So the last one was the CMS Stream Settings. This is the actual quick setup inside the NVR. When you enter the quick setup, you can do all of your configurations and settings through there. This is just for the camera. Here you see, again, you have the recording, schedule, the stream, and motion. You can all take care of all those settings here in one place. Of course, we talked about stream earlier. We talked about recording schedule, which meaning 24/7 or motion. And then after that, actually configuring the motion alarm to the right. So once again, all this has a lot to do with recording and in variables. From, I mean, you can get a number of anywhere from 5 to 10 days extra by simple settings you adjust here.
And it's pretty self-explanatory. It tells you if it's recording 24/7, what stream your camera is on, is it saving or is it not saving audio. It also goes over which disk group the video is saving in. It displays the 3 streams for every camera, what resolution, and are they running on variable or constant bitrate. So let's talk about disk groups.
This is pretty important, and this is actually really important. This applies to 16, 32 channel NVRs.
So larger scale systems.
Larger scale systems, and that's because they have more than 2 bays. Now, when I say that, I mean that because you want to group things in obviously more than one hard drive. So let's just say you have 4 channels that do a lot of recording. So you want to put them in one group so they can take up 1 hard drive, or maybe 2 hard drives. That'll be one group, so it kind of groups the hard drive as 1 instead of 2. So you might have 2 terabytes, it'll make that a 4 terabyte in essence, and you could have the lower streaming cameras on another group. So you can group them according to recording size, recording streams, different configurations according to the group.
So if you have 16 channels, you want to sort every 4 cameras into one hard drive group, you can, right?
Yes.
Not only does it take the stress out of overriding the same hard drives,
yes,
splitting that workload into 4, so that will increase the lifespan of every hard drive. And it's just optimized. You're splitting your resources between different drives. Okay, so another storage way to store video is actually mobile devices. So iPhones, iPads, tablets, they have hard drives, and that's another, you can actually use the storage in those devices through the mobile app.
So when we talk about mobile app, what we're saying is, let's say you have an NVR. The hard drive either goes out or you don't have one in there at all. you happen to be viewing your cameras through your mobile device and something is happening, you're able to record directly to your mobile device, whether it be phone, tablet, iPhone, or iTablet. You can record and play back that video from your device and not have to worry about accessing the NVR. Say someone steals the NVR. You know that you have that video on your mobile device as well. And I'm talking about not accessing the NVR, it actually goes to your mobile device.
So as long as you're streaming, you can set it to record and we'll continually record.
Correct.
Into your phone storage.
Into your phone. You can do all 16 channels in essence if you wanted to. That might take up a lot of bandwidth, but you can do it.
Another thing you can record is actually snapshots.
Yes, very important.
So if you don't want to eat up too much storage in your phone, you can just save snapshots. This app you can play back videos in an NVR, and while playing back, you can take snapshots.
Yeah. And you can export that video. It's kind of tricky. Like I said, if you guys want, you guys can call in and I can walk you through it. It's a little tricky, but you can export that video. It does download as H.264 file. So.
Okay, so this is the app interface.
This is the app interface. So you see here we have a couple 5 megapixel, one of our iPad bullets and another iPad camera. When you select the camera, you can choose the stream. So we've talked about stream to the whole webinar. Selecting stream 2, obviously you're going to get a less resolution at a slower frame rate, but depending on the application, it might not matter. A cell phone that's going to be able to do that lower resolution, and you're not going to lose any picture quality. And this is just a quick picture of live view and local playback. So live view, if we recorded live off the phone and did a playback, you can see there's no video loss. The picture is in essence the same thing. Same quality. You're not losing anything by recording to your phone.
Okay, so this app that we are discussing right now, this is actually for the NVRs. We released a brand new app called Bolides iPack. It's brand new. So what it does better is it's actually capable of streaming your NVRs and even individual IP cameras from any location, all on one interface, right?
Yes. It's kind of like our Cms software, that allows you to view multiple cameras, multiple locations, or Cms software for the Dvrs, where you can import multiple devices, multiple cameras in one location, and view them all as if it was one device.
And the same function that we talked about, you can record into your phone using this app.
Yes.
So this is the interface.
So you can see here at the bottom, if you're familiar with our older iPack app, it only did cameras. You input the IP of the camera came up. This one actually lets you do both. You can see on the bottom, IPC and NVR, you select the device. And so on the right, I'll show you once it's already input, it lets you select what device you want. And from there, you can see your channels. Snapshots, like we said before, or mobile recording. And you can see also what we've added is the, you can see the second icon, the little square with the 4 individual squares. You can actually have a quad view now instead of just one view, which I know a lot of customers requested that they wanted to see in our app.
So you just press on this mobile record button and you're recording into your phone.
Yep.
Okay, so that covers IP cameras and NVRs.
So do we have any questions about, the storage for iPad cameras or the storage configuration for the NVR?
Yes, feel free to type your question in the question box on your screen.
Also, apps nowadays, it's really handy to have everything on your phone. Definitely try out those apps if you would like, if you're interested in this. They're free. It's for iPhone and for Android, so check them out if you'd like. So if we don't have any questions at this point, we are going to move on. But go ahead, feel free. Questions, we can answer them.
We got a question here. Is the app available on the iPad?
Yes, it is. And let me mention that on the iPad, it just says iPack. On the Android,
iPack new, right?
on Android's iPack new, yeah. On the iPhone, it just says iPack. On the Android, it says iPack new. So don't get confused. If you still see the iPack, it is the new app on Apple.
Another question here. I'm already using the older iPack app. Is this a brand new app, or do I update my current app?
That's a good question. It is a different app. It is not. So if you go, it's not going to say update the app. You'll actually have two iPack icons. Each one will be a different program. It is a completely different app. Yeah, that's a good question.
Can I view multiple NVRs on one app?
Yes, you can. And it's just, if you're familiar with our Bolides DVR app, it's very similar to that, and you can select certain cameras from certain devices and put them in one screen.
Yeah, not only can you log on to multiple NVRs, you can actually pick and choose which channels you want to display within those NVRs. So it's very cool.
Yes.
And you can do a view up to how many channels on one screen, Mike?
You can have up to 4 channels on one screen. For an NVR, that's pretty cool because they take a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah. And you can switch it around to the different channels if you'd like. Okay, so that's it for questions so far. Let's move on to our HD over Coax solution. Okay, so this is pretty much our newest product line. We have a 720p and now a 1080p over Coax solution. So great HD solution. Pretty much you're recording at 2 megapixel while using existing coaxial cables. Great for upgrading, analog systems to HD. Now, earlier we talked about storage, and we mentioned how much more storage high definition video takes up. So, Mike?
Yeah, so this is just a quick chart showing what a standard 14-day storage, 720N and 1080p will get you. At 15 frames per second, 4-camera system, for 14 days, recording 24 hours a day, you're looking at, for 720, 1.3 terabytes. Opposed to that, a 1080p is going to get just about double that. So you're going to need almost 3 terabytes to record for 2 weeks at 15 frames on a 1080p. That's a major difference. Yeah, so be aware of that when you're selling systems and customers ask how much storage space do I need. Let them know that you're going to need a lot.
Yeah, if you're quoting out one of these systems or any 2 megapixel camera systems, and make sure you guys include tons of storage, because these cameras at full HD will take up a lot of storage, way more than what we were used to with older analog systems.
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at the GUI of the new DVRs. Again, these DVRs are tri-brid, meaning they support analog. They're backwards compatible with analog cameras. They support AHD 720p and 1080p, as well as HD TVI. So it supports many platforms. Very versatile unit. Mike, let's look at the how to optimize storage here with using the camera settings.
Yeah, so it might sound a little repetitive. We talked so much about mainstream, substream, but I'm just going to go really quickly over the interface for the DVR. We went through NVR, we went through the cameras, and you can see the DVR is a little different, but it's all the same in terms of how it works. So frames per second and bit rate can be adjusted to gain hard drive space, and this is where you would find it inside the main menu under recording and mainstream and substream. And so I think the pictures are probably backwards. So this is the substream. The first one was this is the mainstream. And here you can adjust the frames per second, the bit rate. I want to note too that you see the audio off to the right. In order to get that going, you have to click the enable here and enable on the substream to view it over your mobile device. But all that takes up space. So keep that in mind when enabling some of these options. If you don't have a mic there, there's no need to enable the audio function.
Other ways to maximize and extend your hard drive storage, of course, we have your motion detection, schedule record, Over here, you can lower your your resolution and FPS. You don't want to lower your resolution as much as you can, but you can lower your frames. Some guys like to lower it to 15, all the way down to maybe 7. As well as the bit rate. So what's the difference between bit rate and FPS, Mike?
So bit rate's real important. Sometimes when you try to render a video and it takes a while for it to actually clear up, it may come in fuzzy or a little bit of slow, and then it finally clears up. That's your bit rate. So that's the amount of time it takes the processor to process that image. So if you higher bit rate, obviously it's going to do that faster. So 25 frames per second, and it's taking a while to render that video, you're going to up the bit rate so it does it a little faster. So it does have a lot to do with storage.
Well, the largest version of this DVR is 16 channel, and it's got a capacity of up to 8 terabyte hard drive. Okay, now let's talk about email storage configuration.
Yeah, so this is pretty important. A lot of people, we talked about it a little bit in our last webinar about the SMTP function, meaning sending emails from your MBR to yourself. A lot of complaints about enabling this function and then you getting bombarded with emails every time there's motion. So our last webinar we talked about, we added a new function, the email schedule. This is going to allow you to set when you want the emails to be sent to your server. You don't have to worry about your server getting full of motion detection emails. Now you can set when you want them, when you want to get them, and how you want to receive them.
So as far as backing up video, we added a few options here. Okay, before you have, of course, you have DVD burners, and then it became USB thumb drives. Okay, but we're adding a few more options in terms of backing up video. So, Mike?
Yeah, so everybody's familiar with the search function on the DVR, how to find video. Once you find it, you can export that video either to a thumb drive, to cloud storage, to USB, to eSATA, and I'll go over each of these. But here's the storage, cloud storage, which right now is only Dropbox, and it is only snapshots, but it's a way of backing up that video and knowing you have that video safe at a remote location and not worry about something happening to that DVR getting stolen and you losing that valuable video.
That's a huge feature because you don't need to worry about receiving snapshots in your phone and taking up your phone storage. You can just set up a Dropbox account and have your snapshots pushed to your Dropbox account, and you can check it anytime.
Correct. So let's talk a little bit about FTP, File Transfer Protocol. I mentioned it earlier in the webinar. What this is a remote location hard drive space that will allow you to record remotely. Well, this right now it's still snapshots just like the cloud storage, but it's a remote location other than the DVR where you know you have video that's secure. You don't have to worry about it being taken with the DVR if it happens to get stolen or something like that.
I mentioned backup. So a few ways you back up. Of course, you have your USB thumb drive. So you can find, the back of the unit has the USB. Another backup storage that we added is eSATA. Okay. So how does this work?
So eSATA is very important because, for one reason, you're limited in the amount of storage you can have on a thumb drive. You put that in, you might need more space in that. So the eSATA, you're able to go match your hard drive. You can dump a whole hard drive on an eSATA, and it connects just as easy as a thumb drive.
So you can actually do a whole dump of your hard drive into this eSATA drive.
Yep, and it's found, once again, in the back of the DVR to the left. This is the 16 channel. It looks very similar to a USB drive, slightly different. It is labeled eSATA, and this is a picture of what it looks like.
Okay, and also, of course, the DVR has its own CMS software. Okay, so there's ways to save hard drive space via the CMS software.
So CMS software is pretty important because it gives you multiple, just like the CMS for the NVR, it does the same for the DVR. This is where you would store video and snapshots. This is the directory you set up where it goes. Very simple. This is found in the file system location at the top, and you set that up on your own. And local playback. So this is that video we just directed. How are we going to play that back? This is the video playback system for the CMS, just like the remote playback timeline system with the calendar, select cameras, video plays back. And just like the CMS, again, that's kind of repetitive, but it's a little slightly different, so we're going to go over and show you how it's done and where you can find it. This is the stream configuration for the CMS. Same configuration, resolution, frames per second, bitrate, audio, stuff like that.
And same way as the DVR GUI, you can set it for motion detection through the CMS software, right?
Correct. And this is pretty simple. It's a timeline interface again. You select what you're setting up, motion, alarm, or normal recording. You highlight the boxes you want according to the time, and you're ready to go.
Okay, and just like the NVR app, we have an app for our DVRs. And you can also record in the storage in your phone.
Correct.
Okay, so the app is called Bolides DVR. Okay, so huge features on this. It's free, of course. You have the quick connect function, which eliminates port forwarding. Very easy. You take a QR code scanner, you scan the QR code sticker on the DVR itself, and you're streaming. Not only stream, but record video.
Correct. And there's a quick picture of what the icon looks like to record. Simply hitting that button will allow you to record just like the NVR to your phone, like we said, and have a backup of that video. And again, there's two playbacks. There's remote playback and record playback. Record playback would be playing back from the phone. Remote would be accessing the DVR to do it.
Okay, so that's optimizing storage on your DVR. Any questions, guys? Feel free to type it in the questions box.
Yeah, and just to recap on this section, our Tri-Bit DVRs are backwards compatible. They are compatible 720p, 1080p, HD, TI. Any questions about that? Or
I have a question here.
Yes. Go ahead. Okay. With the new DVR, is there a Mac CMS with QR code coding now with no port forwarding needed?
So unfortunately for the Mac, and that's just code writing for Mac, the QR code does not work on the CMS for the Mac. iPhone is fine, tablet's fine. It's just the Apple Mac itself. You do still need to use the IP address when it comes to instead of the QR code. And that's, like I said, that's just Mac code writing. There's not much we can do with that right now.
Is that something that we're working? Yeah, we're working on.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we are working on it. It's just not as easy to get through to Mac since they don't have a registry and stuff like that. It's, like I said, it's code writing, and we have to get with the right personnel at Mac or at Apple to get that through.
Okay, you guys just keep questions coming, and we'll move on to the last section, which is mobile DVRs. Okay, so we have a very successful line of mobile solutions. You can not only record video, but manage activity and resource consumption, for any fleet of vehicles. Okay, it could be on land, it could be on water, it could be on air. So we have a few versions. We have mobile DVRs with internal hard drive. Also, we have a few versions that record into SD cards. Okay. Okay, so this is a question that we get asked a lot. For mobile, solid state drives or hard drives?
So the solid state drive is actually recommended for the mobile device. It's not necessary, but it is recommended. those of you who may not know, solid state has no moving parts. It's a lot faster, but for mobile devices, since it has no moving parts, there's nothing to move around as you're driving or as the vehicle is moving. They also are a lot more expensive than a traditional hard drive. That being said, you can request a solid state drive. It is more expensive, but it is better for the device itself in terms of recording.
For this particular application, which is mobile.
Yes. And this is just a quick pros and cons and the difference between the two in terms of moving parts, fragmentation, components, moving parts, no moving parts, and temperature differential, stuff like that. I'll leave it here for a minute if you guys want to read it over. It's just, like I said, explain the pros and cons of each.
Okay, so the mobile DVR has its own web GUI as well, right?
Yes, it does.
Okay, and there's ways to manipulate recordings through this web GUI, just like the MVR, just like IP cameras, just like a DVR.
Correct. And so within the web GUI, you're going to find on the top left, that's the standard login. This is what you see. But you see that there's a video search section. Select that, and you'll get a timeline. Within the timeline, you select the channels you want and the cameras you want at the time. Hit search. And you'll get all the video that was recorded from the time that you're searching. You could download that video directly to your computer and free up that drive space without having to actually do a dump. You can do it remotely, and so therefore you can save that space on the mobile device and continue recording, not worry about losing that video.
We have a mobile DVR model that actually has Wi-Fi capabilities. So
correct.
While the vehicle is on the road, it will save in its internal hard drive, and when it hits Wi-Fi, it can dump all the video into a drive at the home site.
Correct.
Okay, that will clear up all of the videos in the vehicle.
And you can have up to 6 Wi-Fi spots added to each DVR. So if there's, they might be 2-3 miles apart. Each time it hits a Wi-Fi station, it'll continue on the dump.
Okay, so to summarize mobile DVRs, we recommend solid state drives. You can use different ways to optimize your hard drive via the software, via dumping videos over Wi-Fi, as well as, of course, your USB storage for backup.
Any questions regarding our topic on mobile DVRs?
Yes, feel free to type your questions in.
Yeah.
You have a question here. What's the maximum capacity of SD card for the SD card model?
So the SD card model has two bays for SD cards and 128 gigabytes each. So that's 256 gigs you can have on a mobile DVR.
An SD card is considered solid state?
It is actually considered solid state. It's in a smaller capacity, but it is considered solid state.
Okay. Another question. Can I still use a regular hard drive for mobile DVRs?
Sure you can. It is recommended that you use a solid state, but there's no problem in using a regular hard drive. Just know what comes with that. You know that regular hard drives have moving parts. It has a disk. It has actuator arm. As the vehicle moves, that disk has the tendency to bounce, like Ken said earlier, like a record. So with that being said, solid state has no moving parts, so you don't have to worry about that if you go that route.
Another question, is there an app available for a mobile DVR?
Yes, it's called Cms 6, and it's free.
So there's an app.
Yeah, it can be found in your Google Play Store or your Apple Store.
And one more question on mobile. How much data am I transmitting via cell phone networks?
So it depends on what you want to access. If it's video, of course, obviously it's a lot more, but normal reports, not much more than a text message. We're talking kilobytes.
Yeah, because you can actually send reports. You can actually add sensors, for fuel consumption,
correct,
to software. has a GPS tracking. It can do geofencing. It can track routes. It does a lot of things to measure efficiency and activities of vehicles.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Those are pretty good questions. So in wrapping up this webinar, here's our information. I am Nancy Garcilazo, Mike Lugar Tech, and Ken Miguel, Sales Manager. There's our emails. If you have any questions, just give us an email. Our phone number for technical support as well, and visit our website to check out all these products we were talking about. We're also on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Check it out. Like I said, the YouTube video the webinar will be on YouTube. If you want a copy of this presentation, email us and we can send you one. As far as that,
thank you guys. Thank you guys for your time and joining us for today's webinar.
Yes, thank you,
Hopefully,
everyone.
You guys learned about optimizing storage. Storage in general. They're very important aspects of CCTV and video surveillance. HD video nowadays take up a lot of storage, so you gotta be able to maximize the capacity of the device that we provide for our customers.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, have a good day.
See you next one.